Former FDA Associate Commissioner and President of the Center for Medicine in the Public Interest, Peter Pitts. Welcome back to Wake Up America.
My pleasure, thank you.
Of course.
Peter, good to have you back in-house. So the CEO of Pfizer had this to say about us all possibly needing a fourth COVID vaccine or booster, whatever you want to call it. Take a listen.
You think it will be necessary?
It is necessary, a fourth boost right now. The protection that you are getting from the third, it is good enough, actually quite good for hospitalizations and deaths. It's not that good against infections, but doesn't last very long. But we are just submitting those data to the FDA, and then we will see what the experts also will say outside Pfizer.
Okay, now he is the CEO of a publicly traded company. You're the former commissioner of the FDA, so you can speak to this with some, you're not making any money off saying a comment like that. Why do they even invite this guy on? What do they expect him to say? Obviously, he's going to say that Pfizer has made a ton of money over the last 20 plus months off the COVID-19 virus.
It's important to get ahead of the curve, but not to get ahead of the science. And what Albert Bourla said was he thinks, but they've given the data to the FDA, and there's more data yet to come. So, he's being optimistic, and I applaud that, but, not too much hype at the moment, I think, is required.
But it's great for shareholders. But if he's the right person for that, wouldn't you rather have somebody from the FDA on and say that versus a guy who's got a financial interest in every comment he says?
Well, I think that basically nobody should be on talking about it because the data really doesn't speak to what's actually going to happen in the real world. But what he said was important, which is if you're triple boosted, or you're not have comorbidity and you're not over the age of 70, if you get infected, you're going to have a light dose of COVID-19 and you're okay. That's the message that really needs to be repeated. And that if you have comorbidities or you're older, vaccinations become a much more important proposition. We can't lose that message. When you keep telling people another booster, another booster, another booster, people simply stop listening, and that's the wrong public health message.
I was going to say, I feel like people are just tuning out at this point, and then you have the CEO of Pfizer telling you there should be a fourth booster shot. I just feel that people are thinking, I'm not going to listen to them. Pfizer also, remember that announcement, that New York study that showed the vaccine wasn't as effective in kids? I mean, now they're saying maybe parents should get a third, fourth. I mean, how many shots? So you think parents are even going to listen?
I think people have stopped listening. And again, if science is back, we can't only follow the science when we like what it says. We have to follow the science regardless. And masking is a good example of that. Science is now saying, certainly in New York State and other kind of green zones per the CDC, we can take our masks off, and people are resistant to doing that.
Yeah.
It's almost like COVID PTSD, where people want to keep their masks on for some other reason beyond the science. So, you have to start telling people, listen, this is what the facts say, and this is what we're going to do. We've earned the right to take our masks off.
And I think people are happy to not see Dr. Fauci on TV every day, especially with this war in Ukraine. I literally, if Fauci were on TV, I wouldn't put it past him to be like, and I hope that the people that are fighting are wearing masks, the Russian military, the Ukrainian military. I wouldn't put it past him. But we've got Barack Obama, a former president. He's got a very moderate case of COVID right now. I think people are seeing the Queen Elizabeth had COVID. She's 95 years old.
Well, now
she's fine. Harvey Weinstein had COVID. Have you seen Harvey Weinstein? He's fine.
It's not in perfect
People
health.
see that and they're like, okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay?
But that's exactly right. It's time for us to celebrate the victory that we're having over COVID-19 and act accordingly and move forward rather than talking about additional booster shots. And we'll have to wait to see what the FDA says and what the CDC says. Having the chairman and president of Pfizer saying we need a fourth booster shot, I'm sure, is what his scientists are telling him to say.
Right.
Is it somewhat also good for the stock price of Pfizer? I'm sure it is, and that I think hurts the public messaging behind this.
Yeah, you got to wonder if the public is listening when it comes from them. I'm wondering what happens to the communications side of that. I would have said, no, let's not do this. Let's have doctors go on and talk about the science. But
you want to get people into their doctor's office doing the right thing rather than saying, come in again and again and again, at which point people stop listening and the whole communications effort behind public health falls apart.
Yeah.
Very true.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoyed having you on.
Yes.
Once again, we didn't even get to vaccines and kids under 5. You'll have to come back and see us, that means.
My pleasure.
Hope you do.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to go back live.